second grade. Today we're working on day 12, transitions, and our objective is I can use transition words in a personal narrative. We're going to turn to page 51, and just like last time, we're going to look for transition words. This story is Papagayo, and it goes all the way to the end of page 52. So I'm going to do the first page, and then I'm going to have you do the second page on your own. Okay, I'm going to look for these transition words. When darkness fell. Ooh, that's a good phrase to tell me that it's becoming nighttime. The creatures of the night gathered as usual to gaze lovingly at the moon. They looked up with watchful eyes and made soft moon music. Many miles away, in the heart of the rainforest, something stirred beneath the stones of the great ruined city. It was the ghost of an ancient monster dog awakening from a deep sleep. He was a moon eater. When he woke up, he was very, very hungry. He saw the moon round, sweet, and delicious hanging in the sky and licked his lips. That night, Papagayo kept a vigil with the night creatures. It was very dark because the moon was not just a slender crescent, but Papagayo tried hard to stay awake. He was just about to doze off when he heard the creatures whimpering. The moon dog had returned, and he was bigger and fatter than ever. He greedily licked the last sweet bit of the moon. The next night, the creatures of the rainforest gathered up the stars. Trembling, they took up the bite-sized shape that was missing from the moon. Here's where they said the next night. Perhaps the moon dog won't come anymore. Perhaps he is satisfied, they whispered. We can't complain if a tiny bit of the moon is missing. Perhaps our beloved moon will glow again and be full. Okay, so that's the end of page 51. I'm going to let you do page 52. And we're going to add some more transition words to our list that we already have on page 19. I really like this one. I haven't seen this one, When Darkness Fell. And let me see if we have these ones. Okay, so I'm going to turn to page 19. You already have quite a list. So here's all the previous transition words. I'm going to add When Darkness Fell. For the friends who are writing Halloween stories, a couple friends are, that might be a really good one for you if it takes place at nighttime. Let me see. I don't see that night, so I'm going to add that. And I know that could also say that day, that minute, so I'm going to just put that night, but I could also say that day. And I'm going to leave 2 blank for you to see if you can add any more. Okay, so I have a pretty big list of transition words and phrases. So I'm going to take my personal narrative story and I'm going to see if I can add any more transition words or phrases. I bet I can. Have you ever seen a large wild animal while on a camping trip? This is the story of the first time it happened to me. Will and I were walking on a wooden trail at Grover Hot Springs. The earthy pine smell mixed with the fresh cut wood, and I thought to myself, this must be a new trail. I could see lots of trees full of green pine around me. It was quiet, and all I could hear was our footsteps and the rustling leaves. I smiled as I took a deep breath. Suddenly is a transition word. I heard a loud thump. What was that? I wondered. I looked up at the forest floor and saw a pine cone that had fallen. I heard loud, angry birds yelling squawk, squawk as they flew away. I think I'm going to add a transition here. I like a few seconds later, because it didn't take a long time for the birds to start talking. It just took a few seconds. A few seconds later, I heard loud, angry birds yelling squawk, squawk as they flew away. In front of Will and I was a gnarly old tree. It had a long branch and shooting out, and I could see a creature climbing on it. I looked closely and couldn't believe my eyes. There was a furry brown bear cub staring at me. I felt my heart beating in my chest. I turned to Will and gasped, "Is that a bear?" I pointed to the creature in the tree. "No way," Will replied. As we stared, I could see another furry. I think I can add a transition later. Mm, I already used a few seconds later, so I wonder if I could say that in another way. What about a moment later? I'm going to put, there's like just a moment. I'm just going to plug that in here because I want to leave you space to write ones. A moment later. A moment later, I could see another furry brown bear cub. And I'm just using a carrot because it's just a little thing to add. A moment later, I could see another furry brown bear cub. Wow, it is a bear cub. There's even another one, I exclaimed. It looked like they were clawing and eating something in the tree. I was fascinated by seeing such special animals. I felt like I was in a nature documentary. Will and I looked at each other with clenched teeth and raised eyebrows. I could tell we were thinking the same thing. Where's the mom bear? I think we should leave, Will said. We calmly turned around and headed back to our campsite. Ooh, I want to add, that's when it was like we immediately, let's see, immediately, I'm going to use that. But I'm going to say, that's when we immediately turned around to our campsite. I'll cross this out and put it here. We immediately That's when we immediately calmly turned around and headed back to our campsite. I don't think calmly works there. I'm going to cross that out too. That's when we immediately turned around and headed back to our campsite. Okay, so you're going to do the same thing. Read the rest of that story on page 52. See if you can find more transition words. Add the transition words on this page, and then add transition words to your personal narrative. Bye.